Hello everyone, this is the Great Pumpkin speaking and welcome to this last army report about Ogre Battle 64. Last episode, we finished the stage of Latium, and since then I've taken the liberty to liberate the various areas around the capital and headed up to Wetinus. However, the next stage, Mount Carolette, is the penultimate stage of the game, which means that I actually can't make another army report after that. So we're gonna go through training and look how our army turned out in the end. Once that's done, we'll review together the equipment of the various groups to see how that turned out. So let's do this. We'll start with Magnus. We're off against a pretty powerful group with 2 Sirens up back and a Princess, which will make all the other units hit one more time, as well as 2 Paladins up front, a really deadly unit, to be sure. Our even men are strangely doing pretty well. That's because, as I said, I was gonna replace the goblins that I was using in here with something else. And since other groups changed, well, these guys are now with Magnus. Although I'm not sure if that was already the case in the Latium stage that we did. Probably was. Pretty powerful spear there with the Bryonac, which managed to put that Siren asleep, so that's pretty good. You might be noticing that I'm getting my ass kicked, and that's pretty much on purpose, so to speak, because, well, that group isn't very good, and that one on the other side was pretty darn deadly. Still, I think we did pretty well with those guys. Magnus is hitting pretty darn hard for a regular character, which is actually pretty impressive. Every time I do a pro general, I can't get over how powerful he is. So, next up, Cornelia. Another group of casters we're up against. This group hasn't really changed a whole lot. We got an upgrade with the Oracian, which is the Blessed Sword looking thing that our Paladin up front has, and dealing a ton of damage against those. Our Dianas are doing pretty well, nearly about to hit the 3 digits, so that's actually pretty darn good. They're mostly using Bow of Thunderbolts and the Bow of Tundra, so I think they've got a pretty good chance of wiping that group. Still, I may get unlucky, like that over there. Oh well, I don't mind. It's not a big thing. So there, we actually managed to wipe them out. Good. One of my more powerful groups out of all the ones I've got, some just happened to work, while others simply didn't. So yep. Next up is Mary with her 2 dragons. That's one of the reasons why I couldn't train at the Aura plane, because Mary's group can hit flyers, and all of the enemies over there are flyers. So that's no good. We actually want her to see her do something. So yeah, that Dragon Master is doing fairly good damage. It's got good dex, but the same thing that makes me think that Freyas are better is simply because they have access to better spears. You've seen how our Freyas did in Magnus' group. They did pretty well as far as I'm concerned for a unit that hits twice. That one gets good stat but doesn't have the weapon to go with it, so. And there we are, that's the end of that. We could nearly wipe them, which is pretty good, as far as I'm concerned. It's always a gamble running that group because you don't know what the AI is going to do against you. Next up is Benedict. Benedict hasn't really changed at all. Mostly I've been putting him back down the middle, so he's not nearly as cinematic as he used to be. Still, the enemy group is pretty powerful. Still, they should be able to handle it, if only because of the Doll of Curse as well as that dragon or that back there. So that shouldn't be too much of a problem, although I may get unlucky. And Quetzalcoatl's are really powerful dragons. However, I feel like their damage isn't quite up to par with other dragons such as the Azidakas. So yeah, that was the end of that, we wouldn't actually have wiped that group, which is fine with me. The Magnus doll got pretty powerful, as did the Leah Flail and other ones, so I'm pretty satisfied with that group. That is a well-made group. Next up is Bento, with his usual combos and his broken sirens up front. One of the things I've discovered through this playthrough is that my conceptions toward sirens leveling as witches were entirely wrong as far as the endgame goes. You see, at some point, the Archmage, when equipped with the Bloodstained Robe, which allows him to get 1 more point of int per level, will actually get past the Siren herself, although for quite a while she'll be way up there with them. Still, doesn't matter in the end, because at some point she'll be stronger throughout a certain point of the game, whereas at some point the Archmages are gonna get past her, so I don't think it's a necessarily bad thing as far as it goes. Fortunately, I've been rattling my bone box, and apparently I'm not even sure how many hits we did. But that doesn't matter, you've seen that group a bunch of times, so it's not a big deal. We've got Julia's group, which changed quite a bit actually. Now we have 2 Seraphs up front, as opposed to what we used to have, I suppose. We've got a Raven up front and a Sphinx out back, which is something new that we picked up in Latium. So the Sphinx are extremely powerful units, and as you can see, it's gonna do a number on those units. You might notice that our Seraphs are doing extremely well against that Paladin using a Blessed Sword. They're doing pretty well as far as melee goes, although whether they are better than Freya's or not, I'm not so sure. Still, we've got that Sphinx out back, which pretty much destroy things. If that other group wasn't so powerful, we would be done with them. But yeah, things happens. That's not too bad. That's another group that works so-so. It does what it needs to do for its purpose, still it could be better. So, next up is Kesha. One of the things to mention is that it's pretty hard to get a good flying group, so that they does so well with the Sphinx is actually not so bad. Kesha's group is about the same as what it used to be, except that all of our great swords have been replaced with Ogre blades, which can be obtained by killing neutral ogres back in, I think, Tybell or something like that. One of those stages. Anyhow, the group did pretty well, and despite the fact that I don't like priests so much, it shows you just how powerful swordmasters can get. This is pretty much the same that can be said for units like, I don't know, Dragoon or Destin, so you can actually get some mileage out of those guys. Simply equip them a powerful enough sword and they'll go to town. See that? Over 125 damage on the one in the middle. Got slightly better stat, probably because it was one of the early unit I got as a leader at the start of the game. Still, that healer heals over 250 damage, which is a heck of a lot. And we've wiped them, just like that. Not so bad. So next we have Kate's group. Kate is a bit of a mixed bag. She does exactly what she needs to do, and she's easily one of my better casters as far as the Siren go. But my archer isn't all that good, and I feel like at this point 3 pumpkinheads is just too much. Having only 2 would be a better choice now that I think about it. And I've actually found a solution for that, which I'll showcase in a further video, once we show the bonus stage in the ending. But yeah, they're doing pretty well with the pumpkinheads, you know, taking a bunch of health out of everybody. The Siren finishes whatever she can, and if anything is still alive, well, the Diana can still deal 3 hits to just get rid of them. So overall, not a bad group. Although the pumpkinheads are a little, how shall we say, fragile. Unfortunately, we're done, so that's it for this group. Given how defensive the other group was, I'd say they did pretty well. Next up is vaudeville. Vaudeville is about the same as he was, except that he lost his raven to, which was it? Julius group. I replaced them simply because I wanted to stick to the team that I had planned for that particular group, which was something of an evil assassination squad, if you will. You had those beastmen looking things up front, which are Satyros, which can be obtained with love and peace from enemy units, and with a Beastmaster, which makes sense. You then add ninjas as assassin or whatever, and they do pretty well. I'm a little disappointed at my Beastmaster, although that's to be expected given the quality of his gear. Still, he got something that was pretty okay as far as I'm concerned. So, with that whip of his, that wasn't so bad. Still, honestly, this is a pretty bad group, to be honest. The Satyros deal almost no damage. The Beastmaster can put his abilities to good use, given that he were no beasts. And Ninja Masters just aren't meant to do magic. That's what we saw here. So now let's have a look at the equipment. Magnus is equipped in a rather standard way with the Notos, which is a pretty good sword over there, as well as the Rune Plate, which isn't actually the best one I've got, but he's got it. The Raven, which have been outperforming my expectations at every turn, them along with Skeletons will be the best choice for Axemen, unless you choose to raise a Black Knight in order to turn him into a Berserker at some point. He uses the Axe of the Worm, which is easy to get and is actually pretty powerful, so that's good. Nothing special about that guy. Here where our Freyas are actually using the Ogre Helm and the Ignis Spear, both pretty powerful as far as I'm concerned, and the fact that I've wasted the Ogre Helm and the Helm of the Fearless on them is actually to see just how far they can go. I really like that Bryonic Spear, I gotta admit, putting enemies to sleep is very valuable. Now for this group, which was Cornelia's. That Paladin is equipped with the Penitence as well as the Armor of Death, one of the late armor that you get into the game. Stat-wise, he's doing pretty good. Decent dex, as well as a lot of strength. Not too shabby. This one is equipped with the Throde Helmet as well as the Ogre armor, and is sporting the Horation with even better stats than our other one. Although if you compare them, he has 291 of strength. Magnus isn't too far behind actually, and he has a whole lot of more dex than he does. I've seen Magnus deal nearly as much as over 250 damage, it was crazy. Now we've got our archers out back, nothing really special above the 2 bows of Thunderbolt and a bow of Tundra. They're really strong contenders for the back row, I have nothing bad to say about those. Mary's group is equipped with the same garb as well as the Needle of Light. I actually moved that around a little later. Still, not so bad, though kind of a waste, I gotta admit. Razidakas are doing pretty well with 292 of Vitality, which is what the Earthquake Strength is based upon. So overall, they did pretty well. I'm pretty satisfied with that. Now we've got this dude who's running the Galendal, the Bloodstained Robe, as well as the Naga Ring, which improves his strength, which is fairly rare in a caster accessory. Few people could actually use that, if only perhaps the Black Knight. So that's pretty good. The Doll of Curse, ever good because it paralyzes, same setup as the other guy, and the Leah Flail. You might be wondering why I'm putting Jingasa to everyone, it's simply because dexterity is so great. So there, a lot less vitality on this guy, which might explain why he doesn't, how can I say, he's in such a great contender as far as damage goes. Still, you take him for the status effect. Quetzal Cult is gonna make an underperforming group into a monster quite quickly. So there. Next group is Bento. As you can look, we've got some pretty good intelligence score ahead there with 300, 283, 301, 281, 291. So as you've seen, they've managed to outperform the Servant somehow. Given that he's equipped with the Forest Gear, one of the better stuff in the game, a Bloodstained Robe as well as a Feather of Archangel, that's pretty darn good. The Siren herself got the Ergot Lamb, a decent one, as well as the Stardust and Ring of Branding. These are some of the best items you can get, and the fact that the Archmages are outperforming her is pretty darn fantastic. This one was equipped with a Tolida, and the other ones as well, so that was half decent as far as I'm concerned. These things did pretty well as far as I'm concerned, except you never want it in the front row. Still, 2 evocations out back is really valuable. For our Seraphs, we didn't have much for them, much like we did for the Dragon Master. Gave them an Ogre shield and a bloodstained armor to see what she could do. Same for this one with the Saint shield and angelic armor. This guy got equipped with the Gramlock, the strongest axe in the game as far as I'm concerned. He did some pretty good damage, I'm pretty proud of that. Next up, we've got the group with the priest. She was equipped with the Gambanton and equipped with the bloodstained robe for a heck of a while. Namely, like this, I could turn her into Siren and have her go to town. Still, that wouldn't do. Abel isn't such a powerful pumpkin after all, and he can get killed. I've seen it happen a couple of times. Nothing too special with my Swordmasters, mostly Ogre Blades and Terra Armor. Nothing too special, but you'll see the stats, 246 of Dexterity. That's actually pretty good, 270 for this guy. So yeah, that explains why they crit and block so much. Now we've got our head Siren with a whooping total of 293 intelligence. She's equipped with the Jormungand, the strongest staff in the game, as well as the Spell Robe and Ring of Branding, which are pretty darn powerful as far as accessories go. With Dark Quest, she's pretty well equipped to wipe out entire groups. Seen her do as much as 150 damage over all enemies she hit. This Diana is equipped with a Crescente, a holy bow, which I'm kinda disappointed on her. I expected her to do more damage. Probably because my other archers ended up being stronger for some reason. Nothing special for our pumpkin heads, just small things to improve their resistance to damage. Over here, our Ninja Masters were pretty basic, with pointy hats to improve their intelligence, and Baldur Claws as well for that same reason. Still, not nearly enough to make them good. Same for this guy, except he's equipped with a Celestial Veil. About the same as the pointy hat, except it adds some spirit, or was it spirit? Might have been mentality. Whatever, some item actually, as I said, allow you to level up the stats of pretty much everyone. Saturos, as usual, have been a constant disappointment. They were equipped with Bloody Clevers and Thunder Chain for this one, and the Celestial Hammer and Terra Armor. Kind of a waste, if you will. Still, you can see that their stats are fairly even for the most part. The only reason I can see really using a Saturos being valuable is in a group like this one over here. For instance, I want the Saturos as a leader over here, or fear losing an Archmage. That could be a good idea, and much better than wasting a Black Knight really, which is something I tested at some point. Still, nothing to write home about, I'm afraid. And this guy, Henderson, was equipped with the Blood Whip, which he did alright. With 265 of strength, that's fairly reasonable as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, that was it for that army. Now, next episode, I'm gonna be finishing the game and heading toward the bonus stage before we see the low chaos frame ending. So I'll be joining you then. Thank you for watching, everyone. This was Ray Pumpkin. You all have a pleasant time now. Bye!